Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I am Ethan, joined by, as always, MVP, which stands for the most valuable Pete. Hey, Pete. How are you today?
I am great, ebullient Ethan. Sorry, I'm still trying to come up with an E word that fits right.
You will not, but MVP sticks nevertheless. We are having our weekly stream or skip episode, which I always start off by asking you to recite the rules for our new listeners in 20 seconds or less. I shall pause while you do so. Go for it, Pete.
All right, so Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows and movies for each other to watch. These are things that we wouldn't normally watch. Every week, we watch at least 2 episodes if it's a series or 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program. And on that basis, we determine if that show or movie is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
And this week, I will let you do the honors. What did I assign for you?
So this week, I had what has seemed to be like a perennial top 10 show on Netflix. Now, obviously not perennial because it's still relatively new, but It's been on the top 10 list for quite some time. It's a show called Supacell.
Yeah, Supacell.
So I have mixed feelings about this show. Well, we'll learn not so much.
I don't think so.
On paper, this should be a must subscribe, but I'll tell you why it's not. So first of all, the show is about superpowered people set in present day London. So already you've got me there as a resident of London. I like that. As a fan of superpowered people, I love that. And it seems like it's a gritty take on superpowers. So, you know,
The Boys.
Kind of like The Boys, but without it being a satire, right? The Boys is, they take things to an extreme to kind of showcase their, being a satire. This isn't that. The other thing I like about this show, again, on paper, is that it is almost like an anthology, which is to say that there are 3 or 4 running stories at the same time, which are seemingly not connected to each other. So, for example, you have a guy who's madly in love with his girlfriend and he's working for a delivery company, which is weird because he's working as a delivery driver, but somehow is able to afford buying his girlfriend a BMW convertible. Anyway, it's weird. Okay. So you've got the guy who's working as a delivery driver for a company. Then you've got a leader of a gang who gets stabbed in the first episode. And then you've got a drug dealer who's trying to sell weed and he's trying to break into the business. You can tell he's kind of new at this. And of course, as with all anthology series, or as with all really good anthology series, you learn that these stories are actually not disconnected and that eventually they will connect to each other. We find out over the course of the first episode that these people all have superpowers, but they don't know it.
Do they know each other?
They don't know each other. And that's what I mean. So they're completely disconnected, but they kind of like tangentially touch each other in the story. So like the delivery driver has to deliver a package to where the gang is running their protection racket. And, they have their connection there.
It's like Crash.
It's exactly like that. The drug dealer is trying to sell drugs to one of these guys. So they're all tangentially connected that way, but not directly. And then we find out, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
Go for it.
We find out that the delivery driver has the power to travel through time. Okay. But he doesn't really know that. Again, the first 2 episodes, we don't really know what's going on.
He's either a very successful or a very shit delivery person then, right? If you can travel through time.
Right, exactly. And so all we know about the people who have superpowers is A, they've got some kind of power, and B, their eyes, like they have like their irises turn gold, and then they exhibit their power. So like the drug dealer has got super speed, the gang leader can go invisible, the delivery driver can travel through time. It's all weird. And anyway, the guy travels through time in a moment of passion with his girlfriend. And we find out that he travels through time in London, maybe 3 or 4 months later. And London is deserted. Some kind of apocalypse has happened.
In 3 months.
Something like that.
That's scary.
Right? Whatever it was. His girlfriend / fiance has died. And the future version of him meets him at like Piccadilly Circus, and he says, there's still time, you could still save us, or something like that. On paper, this
sounds actually quite good the way you're describing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is on paper it does sound good, right?
Is there a but or a however?
The however and the but is that I am not a fan of the language. I'm not a fan of the gang culture. I'm not a fan of the vibe. There's something about the vibe that's just not doing it for me.
Like vulgarity language?
Or language in the sense that this is typical gang language that you would hear in London. And maybe it's because it might hit a little too close to home. It just feels like I don't want to be associated with any of these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost too real, if that makes sense.
It's like you've actually been inducted into a gang and you're like a passive observer and you're like, I don't want to be a part of this.
And, unfortunately, I've had the experience of seeing
I used to be in a gang.
And yeah, that's right.
Not true, listeners.
Yeah.
An academic gang. An academic gang.
They don't call me Pistol Pete for nothing.
It's an academic gang.
Yeah, that's right.
Economics club.
Don't make fun of me. I was in an economics club.
I know.
So, look, the effects are very good.
Yeah.
The set design, production design, it's all filmed in the streets of London, or at least it seems that way. It feels real. It feels good. But that vibe is just not my bag. And then more fundamentally, we've talked about this ad nauseum. There needs to be a hook. They keep teasing us with this hook, but I like the idea that these people have superpowers, but they don't know why or how, and they're all disconnected. That sounds great, but after 2 episodes, we've now seen him go travel through time, but we still don't know what that catastrophe in the future is. And it just feels like a tease, considering there's only like 6 episodes.
6 episodes in the season?
That's it.
Good God.
So you're already a third of the way through the season, and I still don't know what is happening. Except for the fact that these 3 or 4 people have superpowers. It's not good enough today. That might have worked on me 10 years ago before the Marvel universe was such a big deal.
Yeah.
But right now, like, I need to know what the catastrophe is. I need to know more, and you're not giving me. And you're instead focused on the present day, and you're focused on how these jerks are all there. And really, except for the delivery driver, everyone comes off as relatively unlikable. Like, I don't want you to spend an episode and a half on a gang war between the quote-unquote Crips and Bloods. It's not the Crips and Bloods, but it is a group of guys in red versus a group of guys in blue. Get on with it. Like, I don't need to see the nitty-gritty of this gang warfare.
I have to say, Netflix has been pushing this very, very hard. Like, it's always, I feel, coming up on my top 10, most popular today, most popular in this country.
Absolutely.
If you like this, you'll like this. Like, they've really, really been pushing it. And I've held off watching it only because I know I assigned it to you, which doesn't always stop me. But in this case, it did. But I guess it seems like a little bit of a letdown now from what you've described.
Yeah, look, it certainly isn't bad. This is a skip for me. It certainly isn't bad. But if you're starved for a superpowered show, if you like that culture, if you like that gang stuff, this could be absolutely a must subscribe for you. It just isn't for me. I think the reason that it's also doing very well is also probably one of demographics. The show is not predominant, it's almost an exclusively cast filled with Black actors. So that demographic maybe is underrepresented, not maybe, is definitely underrepresented.
Not a lot of Black superheroes.
Right. And there aren't that many Black superheroes. So I can understand why.
Unfortunate they need to make them in a gang then.
In one hand, they're helping perpetuate the wrong kind of culture, but on the other, or not culture,
stereotype.
The wrong kind of stereotype, exactly. But on the other hand, they're making the other guys not a part of the stereotype. I don't know. It's just sending me mixed messages.
Yeah.
And it's not one that lands with me particularly.
Have you ever watched Snowfall?
No, but that was another show you recommended. I think it was about cocaine, right?
Yeah. Snowfall is on FX.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of different dynamics, but it transitioned from like the cocaine to crack epidemic, I guess you would call it. And it follows a guy who's kind of like the gang leader or the leader of this in Los Angeles, and how he starts, very small, and how he's got kind of good intentions to help his mom and everything. And there's also a second element to it, which is, remember the Nicaraguan drama in the US, in the early 80s when they were like funding the rebels, right?
The rebels, that's right.
Right. So it was the CIA, right, that was trafficking cocaine into the US to pay for the war, right? And you see an element of that as well. And it's a phenomenal show. And the guy who plays the lead is actually also British, which is incredible how he gets rid of his accent. But I had to stop watching that as well, because it was just so repugnant watching a storyline about how the CIA was not just like implicit, but actively bringing cocaine into the US, destroying, the fabric of society in Los Angeles, and using all the profits, for what they believed was the right thing to do for, like the war in Nicaragua, which is, if you've looked at a map, I know you have, but I'm saying that's for anybody, like, is nowhere near the United States, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no active reason why you'd be care at all about this small little country, So I get what you're saying, which is it was a great show that I had to stop because at the end, like, I would get finished with an episode and I'd feel just yuck, like I just needed a shower from the despicableness I was watching.
Yeah, and I just think that if there was less focus on the gang stuff, I think I'd be more okay. And of course, this is entirely fictional because it's about superpowers. But at the same time, a lot of that seems like it's very plausible in London.
It sounds like it's not a Guy Ritchie series, because Guy Ritchie focuses on gangs, but he does it almost like in a humorous, like, whitewashing way, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like the boxer in The Gentleman, where they're working with the gangs, but they don't show you the nitty gritty. It's a very high level view of it.
Yeah.
So it could be accurate, but at the same time, it also makes a joke out of it.
Yeah, exactly right. So at the end, what is your rating for Supacell?
So this is a skip. Now, it's a skip with heavily caveats. It doesn't do anything for me. But I recognize that, there's also a reason this is consistently in the top 10 and being pushed by Netflix. I also heard that a second season is being greenlit. So it's clearly doing something. It's just not doing it for me.
What's the meaning of Supacell? Is there any meaning?
No idea.
Oh.
Still no idea after 2 episodes.
That's got to be something about the disaster, right?
Either about the disaster or, there is an opening sequence where you see someone escaping or trying to escape from some facility.
Oh, the cell.
And that could be where the cell is coming from. And Supa, in the sense, like, these could all be superpowered people.
I feel like I want to watch these 2 episodes just to kind of like corroborate your view, but I mean, my expectations now are a little bit more muted.
Bit lower. Again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Definitely watch at least 1 episode, ideally 2. I mean, the good thing is that the time sink into it is
Yeah.
only 2 episodes. I think that you will find, like me, some parts of it very compelling, but I also think that you might get turned off by a bit of the gang stuff and just like it seems like the show isn't going anywhere fast.
That is Supacell on Netflix.
All right, what did you have? Actually, I know what you had, and I was excited about it too.
You know what I had? I had from Apple TV Plus, Bad Monkey, super weird name, not at all what I expected, starring my favorite, it's my Nicolas Cage, Vince Vaughn. And I've loved Vince Vaughn since Swingers, where I thought he was just the funniest guy. And probably in everything else I've seen since then, including, what was he in? He was in The Interns, right? Where he's Google intern with Owen Wilson. So I digress. The point is that this is a new series on Apple TV Plus, and Vince Vaughn is the lead. And the summary is that he is living in the Florida Keys. So a little bit similar to what we saw on Roadhouse in terms of the style, the color, the beachiness, the type of Hawaiian shirts. He is a police detective who is suspended, and during his suspension, he is given kind of a task by his partner at the police station saying, hey, just do this one small thing and it'll give you some goodwill with the boss, and you'll probably have your suspension lifted and we'll be back in old times. So Vince Vaughn, first of all, let me talk about his character before I go into the storyline. I feel like this show was custom written for Vince Vaughn. The character is perfect. It's got it's very, very tightly written, very, very witty, and how he delivers every line is so subtle. And the humor, like, just kind of like, if you're really not paying attention, it will pass you by, Like, he's always saying things like, wow, you're like, usually people like breathe when they eat a burrito, or is it customary to do this? Like, it's so witty and funny. It's the perfect character written for him, I have to say. He's actually not a screwball like he is in a lot of other shows, but like, he's a very, very good detective, but he's obviously got his own little quirks. So he was suspended, and the storyline is that there was a severed arm that was found by some fishing tourists, and the severed arm was then delivered to the police station. And the captain's like, look, I don't want like an open homicide. I'm never going to be able to solve this murder. I don't want these on my statistics. He's like, just get rid of the arm. So they give the arm to Vince Vaughn saying, look, just get rid of this arm. We don't know where it came from. We're going to have to open up a murder case. We'll never be able to close that file, right? We've got nothing to go on. The people found it fishing, like a mile offshore. It's a dead end. Just go give it to the alligators, and we appreciate you doing this discreetly, and then you're back on the force. Right? So Vince Vaughn's given the arm. He puts it like in a cooler, and in typical Vince Vaughn fashion, he's also got like some mango popsicles in the cooler. Yeah. It's so, for me, it's just like hilarious, even though there's nothing really funny about that, but it's just like so clever and Vince Vaughnish to me, right? Like, he's just like eating like mango popsicles out of the cooler that's got like a severed arm in it. Like, no big deal, right? So he's going to throw the arm out. But again, he's deep down a very good detective. He's a very naturally curious guy. And he's just like, look, this is too weird. Why doesn't the guy, like, there's a big like suntan mark where he used to wear a watch, or his wedding band is missing. He's just like looking at it. He's like, wait, there's more to the story. And to make a long story longer, he ends up not disposing of the arm. He takes it to like a forensic lab and says, look, not supposed to do this. I'm off the clock. I've been suspended. Like, it's not even a case, but like, this is just bothering me. Let's look into this. So Vince Vaughn basically opens up his own kind of like murder investigation, and you see him kind of like interacting with all the different characters in the Keys, There's also a nexus to Miami. And then it obviously leads into a bigger kind of like conspiracy, murder investigation, and everything. The tone is very, very right. You know, we've watched a lot of shows where the tone is wrong or the pacing is wrong or something's just kind of off. This one nails it. Yeah. For me, it nails it because it's a true murder investigation. And it's gritty in that sense. I mean, there is a severed arm, but it also has the right balance of it's more than just kind of like a true detective, like digging into the murder. It's a little bit able to focus on, hey, what's the conspiracy about all of this? Like there's more than meets the eye, you know, like this guy's a little bit suspicious and this guy's a little bit suspicious. And there's this backstory. And all of this is surrounded by kind of like the Vince Vaughn, you know, humor where, you know, he lost his police car, so he's got to take his bike everywhere. You know, he's doing this obviously, you know, on his own accord. So he's kind of sneaking around. It's, for me, has the right balance of very subtle humor. It's got a very good A plot, which is kind of like the murder investigation. It's got a very good B plot, which is kind of like the bigger conspiracy about why this, you know, murder took place. It's introduced us to a lot of characters, which I think are cast very, very well. One of my favorite people who is in this is Meredith Hunger. She is John Cena's wife in Vacation Friends and Vacation Friends 2. Remember her?
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
She's Kyla. Remember how funny she is in Vacation Friends 2? Like her and John Cena were just like made to be like that couple in that movie. So she plays one of the important characters here in a very, I would say, kind of toned down way, equally kind of like ditzy and vivacious, but obviously not as big of a partier, drinker, stuff like that. So she's in here. I think she makes it. It's overall great casting. I loved it. I've only watched 3 episodes. It's coming out, you know, every week now. So I think there's maybe 5 episodes out now. I'm a little bit behind. It's 10 episodes for the season. I expect that there's going to be a second season. I hope so. It's been fantastic. I cannot say enough about it. An absolute home run from Apple TV Plus.
Spoiler alert, I've also seen this show.
All right.
And I was excited because this is another Bill Lawrence show. Now, Bill Lawrence is the guy who did Scrubs. He's the guy who did Shrinking. He's the guy who did Ted Lasso. He's nailed that, I would say, that very delicate balance of something that's serious with something that's very comedic.
Yeah, Ted Lasso is a very good example of that, huh?
And Ted Lasso is a fantastic example of that. Scrubs, you know, people think of it as a pure comedy, but like there were some very tender moments in Scrubs as well. And of course, Shrinking, no different, right? Because again, the topic of mental health. So you're absolutely right. The tone is right. And when you say that Vince Vaughn is the absolute perfect person for this, I have a sneaking suspicion that Bill Lawrence wrote this show with Vince Vaughn in mind.
Yeah, he must have. I think it's just a glove that Vince Vaughn fits in so well. He really plays that character perfectly, huh?
Yeah, that's smarmy, but still caring. That's still, you know, funny kind of guy. So yeah, I'm all in.
And I also have to say, from the Vince Vaughn perspective, he's known for kind of like those younger roles that he had at Swingers and in the Internship, where he's not really an action hero and he's not really the dad yet. So I feel like this is a very good role for him where he can, like, he is a serious detective, right? I mean, he's pretty intelligent. He's definitely he's capable. He's curious, but at the same time, he's still like has a good amount of wisecracking, but not so much where we've seen how many shows where there's kind of like this drunken, divorced, you know, detective, broke, you know, but he's still kind of like the John McClane kind of guy, right? Who kind of like pulls it together. And then you see, but despite all the stubble and the hangover and the cigarettes, there's still like a very good detective. Vince Vaughn's not that down on his luck, kind of like alcoholic, you know, type detective. He's just kind of like a quirky, goes to the beat of his own kind of drummer detective, and I think that's a good balance for him, because I think the other archetype is a little bit so trite, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan. So it's interesting. Yeah. What's your rating on this?
I give it a must subscribe. I think it's fantastic.
I'm with you, man. I was actually, prior to us talking about this show, I was at a mooch someone's password, but I think after having, listened to what you had to say and after having thought about it a little bit more, I'm with you. I think this is a must subscribe as well.
Yeah. One thing I also wanted to state is that, we've seen a few, I guess the most recent one was Roadhouse, right?
Yeah.
And that had a very Key West beachy vibe. Everything seems to be kind of like New York based, London based. A lot of it is city based. There's not a lot of very good shows that are able to incorporate the tropics, probably because the lighting is so hard and getting the vibe right is so hard. Roadhouse, I don't think was a great movie, but I thought that the scenery in Roadhouse was not bad. The setting was not bad, but I think that Bad Monkey really pulls it off very, very well, where it kind of shows the colors of the Keys without being, too weird. It has a lot of things in kind of like scenes in like kind of like dive bars or dive restaurants or like inside the police station. I feel like it pulls off the vibe and the colors very, very well without being like overly distracted by, too much beach, too much sunlight, too much, like color in the background as well.
Right.
I think that's a very, very hard thing to do. I mean, that's why I think it's so easy to film in cities like, New York and Chicago and Los Angeles, is that their lighting is probably easier to deal with than, the bright and the sand and the reflections of a place like Key West or Miami.
Right.
All right. So that is my stream or skip. It is Bad Monkey, strange title, Apple TV Plus. I give it a must subscribe. I've brought Pete up to also giving it a must subscribe. What do we have next week? What are our assignments?
So next week, you're going to be on Netflix to watch, at least at the time of this recording, a new show called Chaos. But it's spelled with a K, and there's a reason for it.
Jeff Goldblum, huh?
That's right, Jeff Goldblum.
All right.
I will be watching a relatively new show on Apple TV, also starring Jake Gyllenhaal, called Presumed Innocent.
Oh, yeah. Based on a book.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about it, but I assume it's like a courtroom drama of some sort.
I can't wait for you to watch this. Spoiler alert, I have. That's it.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were about to give me your score.
Nope. I'm excited for you to watch it because I think we've got a lot to talk about. Not just the show, but the story and stuff. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Super. I'm excited for next week. Jeff Goldblum has been a favorite of mine. I mean, since I guess the original Jurassic Park. Okay. So that is next week. Pete, looking forward to it. Before we take off, can you give everyone our social media credentials and all that jazz?
Absolutely. Tweet at us at F&S Podcast. DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. And as always, like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe to our channel.
Boom. Listeners, we appreciate you tuning in. Pete, appreciate you joining us. We will catch you next week on our next episode of the Films and Stuff Podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.